Here is a fully rewritten version with completely new wording, no headings, no channel name, and no reuse of phrasing. The room was filled with bouncing balloons, toddlers shrieking with joy, and adults pretending to enjoy the sugary punch. I held a drink I couldn't bring myself to taste, forcing a polite smile even though everything inside me still felt heavy from the funeral a few days earlier. My sister slid up beside me, all sweetness on the surface, but her voice sliced clean through the noise. She lifted a folded document and said, almost proudly, "Since your husband is gone and my son is actually his child, I'm entitled to half of your house. It's only fair, considering the inheritance." For a moment, I simply stared at her. The ridiculousness of it almost made me laugh. My husband was gone, and somehow she managed to turn a child's birthday party into a stage for her own delusion. Grief should have been the only emotion in that room, but betrayal rarely waits for an appropriate moment. It catches you where you least expect it. I thought back to the first time I met him. His warm laugh, his gentle jokes, the way he made any room feel safe. I threw myself into loving him, trusting him far more than most people ever earn. For years, I didn't question anything, but little signs began to appear. Late-night messages, an unlocked phone buzzing too often, too many excuses wrapped in the word work. I didn't accuse him. I observed. I waited. I needed truth, not suspicion. And then I found the messages. Explicit details. Plans. Promises to someone else. A different life he was building in the shadows. It was a kind of discovery that should have shattered me. But something steadier rose inside instead, a determination I didn't know I had. I said nothing. I didn't cry where anyone could see. I started planning. I learned everything he tried to hide. Accounts he thought I wouldn't notice. Investments he believed were protected. Documents he assumed I'd never understand. I talked to lawyers, bankers, anyone who could help me build a clear, undeniable path of control. Little by little, I dismantled the foundation of his secrets. By the time he passed, there wasn't a single asset he could have shielded from me. Every detail was settled, every loophole closed, every cent accounted for. And now my sister thought she could swoop in and rewrite reality with one outrageous lie. She watched me, waiting for fear or panic or even outrage. I gave her none of that. Instead, I smiled, slow, steady, and sharp enough that she finally blinked. "You think you're entitled to something," I said quietly, "but what you're chasing doesn't exist." Confusion flickered across her face. Her fingers loosened around the document. "You don't understand," I added, leaning close enough that she couldn't pretend to mishear. "There isn't anything for you to take. Everything is secured. Everything is protected. Half of what you're claiming is nothing." Her face drained as the meaning sank in. The room kept buzzing with childish laughter and camera flashes, but for her, everything stopped. She finally realized she'd built her fantasy on smoke. I let her sit with that truth, let her feel the collapse of her plan, as completely as I once felt the collapse of my marriage. She had counted on my grief making me weak. She had miscalculated. When I finally walked out of the party, I felt lighter than I had in months. My home was still mine. My future was untouched. The mess he left behind had been sorted and sealed, and every person who tried to twist the story had been outmaneuvered without a single raised voice. Revenge doesn't always arrive with shouting or chaos. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and absolute. It reveals everything exactly when it needs to, and when it does, it leaves no room for doubt. I didn't break. I didn't lose. I rose above all of it, calm, deliberate, and stronger than anyone ever expected.